good to see you. It's Verity here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm taking part in a blog hop with Wow Embossing Powders and Ellen Hutson designs. It's also featuring a giveaway and I have more details of this towards the end of the video, so stay tuned. So I have 5 cards today using a selection of Wow Embossing Powder products along with some fabulous dies and stamps from Ellen Hutson. I created some alcohol ink backgrounds with some foiled accents using some fab foils from Wow, and then used big scripty dies to finish these cards off. And then I also used the Mondo Gerbera Daisy with some bright white opaque embossing powder and some pencil colouring. So as I'm showing you, I'm using some fab foils for the first sets of cards. I only used 2 to be in the end, the ice blue and the rose gold. But I did show on screen silver and teal as well, as I was unsure whether I was going to use these, and it wasn't until the alcohol ink backgrounds were complete that I decided I would. So just to show you, to start off with, I have placed some alcohol ink cardstock down on my glass mat. This is really useful for alcohol inks because you can clear up the alcohol off the glass mat quite easy with some rubbing alcohol. And then I'm just squirting and dropping some alcohol inks down onto my card. I've listed the alcohol inks I'm using on the screen for this first card, and I've created a selection of blues. I keep just adding and layering the colours up, and I'm using a straw just to blow and move the alcohol inks around. Now you can see some areas where the ink is starting to sort of pool a little bit, and I want these areas because as they dry they become a bit sticky, and later on this is what the foil is going to adhere to. So I'm using some blending solution as well as some pure alcohol just to mix and blend the colours, and I absolutely love this blue background. So the foil I'm going to be using with this alcohol background is the ice blue foil from Wow, their fab foil. Now when the alcohol is nearly dry and you've got those pools where some alcohol is more thicker, it's sticky, and you just press it down and burnish it down, and that stickiness allows the foil to adhere to it. When I started doing this, it hadn't dried enough, it was still a bit too wet, that the ink was just smushing onto the back of the foil and not peeling off. But don't worry if this happens, because it doesn't ruin your foil, you can still use it. You just need to leave it a little bit longer, allow it to dry a little bit more, and then put the foil back down and smush it over. And as you can see, you can get this lovely speckled look of the foil mixing with the alcohol inks. So I'm not showing the process of the second one as much because it's very similar. Again, I've listed the alcohol inks that I've used for this purpley pink background, and I added a lot more ink on this one, so there are areas where it's more thicker. It took longer to dry and I got more of it, as you can see on my glass mat, but it was easy to just wipe up with some pure alcohol on this glass surface. You should note that you need alcohol ink or Yupo paper or a non-porous surface to use the alcohol inks. So this one was really thick, you can really see those big globs of alcohol, and some areas again it wasn't quite dry enough that it was just smushing, but as you can see that the longer I left it to dry the more I got. And again, I got so much alcohol on the back of the foil, but it doesn't impair the front of the foil and it still will adhere down, so don't worry if you get alcohol ink on the back of your foils. So this one's kind of got like a very splotchy, bubbly look where the foil's adhering it. I really loved it, and I got so much foil adhering to this background. And it just shines in the light. That rose gold goes beautifully with the pinks and the purples for this background. So to make the cards, I trimmed the panels down so I was left with an 1/8 of an inch border, rated UK card size A6. And then I'm using the big scripty dies from Ellen Hutson. So I'm using the hello on the blue card and the thank you on the purple card. Now to adhere these down, I wanted to foil the top layer. I was going to create a layered die sentiment, but I wanted the top layer to be in matching foil to the foil that I used in the background. I'm just applying some stick and adhesive to some white card. Then I'm peeling off the release paper and sticking this down to the back of the foil. So the foil has the shiny side down, and then I stick the adhesive card over the top. And then I'm just using a tool, like my scoring tool, just to adhere the foil down. Now unfortunately where I put my stick and adhesive on, I did pick up some of the adhesive off with the release paper, so I didn't get a really good coverage of the adhesive on the card. So it's where you can see those white patches. That isn't because the foil hasn't adhered to the adhesive, it's because I didn't have any adhesive there in the end. Luckily there was enough for me to position the die so that I could cut it out and avoid those white areas. I die cut the thank you several times from some white card, and then I ran it through my Xyron sticker machine just to make it adhesive, and then I was just layering the lovely sentiment up to create a dimensional sentiment, and then adhering the thank you on the top. Now as I die cut the shadow outline from my alcohol background, I could pop the layered foiled dyed sentiment inside that shadow area, and the white of the background allows that sentiment to really pop out from the alcohol ink background, and the foil matches and pairs perfectly well. So for the hello card I did exactly the same. I adhered some foil down onto some adhesive card, and then I die cut this out, and this time I'm layering it up just using my quickie glue pen. So just showing an alternative way of creating your layered die cuts if you don't have a Xyron sticker maker. The foil that I was using on this again was the ice blue to match the foil that I used on my alcohol ink background, and as you can see I've used the shadow die for the big scripty hello, just cut that out of the background to allow the white from the card to pop through, and then I'm adhering my layered foiled die cut sentiment within that shadowed space, and that white really contrasts beautifully I think with the colours of the alcohol ink and the blue of the foil. I just love it. And again I use my quickie glue pen just to adhere this down, so I'm just holding it in place, putting a little bit of pressure down to ensure it adheres. So from the Mondo Gerbera Daisy stamp set, I'm just using some of the sentiments in there and creating some sentiment strips, and I'm using my Wow Clear Ultra Slow Drying ink pad, which is really great. It's really sticky and your embossing powder adheres to this brilliantly. And for the hello card I'm using the Oceanic embossing powder. This is a gorgeous like darkish teal colour with loads of lovely shades in it, and I just stamped the word friend, and then I'm using my Wow Jewel Heat embossing gun just to heat set that. And then I'm foam mounting the little sentiment. I trimmed it down with a flag end onto my card. So for the thank you card I'm instead heat embossing the sentiment in metallic copper, and I'm using the sentiment for every little thing. And again this was just foam mounted onto the card using my team ruler just to get it straight. And that's the first two cards complete. The third card I used the Mondo Gerbera stamp set to create a pencil coloured monochromatic card really. So this stamp set comes with a beautiful Gerbera Daisy stamp, and you can get a coordinating die as well, and that coordinating die also has a few sentiments. It says friend in it and hi. So I'm using some blue cardstock, just some plain blue cardstock, to stamp my Gerbera down. So I'm using my stamping platform so to ensure that I get the best possible print. In case I've missed the middle a little bit, I can stamp it again, and using my clear ultra slow drying ink pad. So before heat embossing it, because this is like a watermark pad as well, I can see the stamp and I can colour it in with my pencils. So I'm using some polychromos pencils and I'm just layering down some white colour, and this is just a normal white pencil, it's not a polychromos pencil. And this white allows me to add colour onto dark cardstock, but I wanted to keep with the blue. So I'm laying my darkest blue down, and then I'm adding some lighter blue and going back in between the two and shading them. I've listed the colours of polychromos I've used on the screen in case you want to create this card just the same way. And I keep going back because I've sped it up because I am just blending between the colours to get a really nice smooth blend. And I've sped up the whole process, didn't show you the whole of the petals, but as you can see, create some lovely dimension. For the middle, you don't really need to spend too much time on this middle in the end because my heat embossing covers a lot of it. But I'm sort of colouring the colours in with a circular motion and then just blending the two colours together one next to each other with the circular motion, and I'm just adding a little bit of the darker blue on the outside just to give a bit more depth. Now you could cut it out like this, I think it does look lovely, but I do love a heat embossed outline, a nice crisp one, and my favourite is to do that with Wow Embossing Opaque Bright White. Super fine, it's really good at picking all that detail up, especially those lovely dots within the middle of the gerbera. Again, using my Wow Embossing dual heat gun to heat set that, and then I'm taking the coordinating Mondo Gerbera die and I'm just die cutting that out. For some interest in the background, I'm using the Blue Pearl Wow Embossing powder and creating a speckled background. So I've just tipped a little bit out into some paper and then picking a little bit up with my finger and sprinkle it around. Now this has nothing to adhere it to the cards, so the way for you to heat set it is to heat from underneath. It will warm up through the card and then heat set, and then as you can see you get a lovely blue shine to it. Now I decided I wanted a little bit more interest, so I also added some white speckled embossing powder over the top as well. Exact same process, heating from underneath. And then I was trying to decide on how I wanted to finish the card off, and I thought I would add the word friend, so I die cut this several times into some white card, layered it up and positioned it on my card. And you'll notice that my sentiment changes as the card is made, because I realised that I hadn't quite read the sentiment through properly and it didn't fit with the word friend. And then at the end I changed my mind, so you'll see that's later. So I'm just foam mounting the panel onto my card to add a bit of more dimension. So I trimmed the panel down so I had 1/8 of an inch border, and I like using some liquid glue to do that because it just gives me a bit of wiggle room to make sure it's nice and straight. And I'm just using some black foam pads just to foam mount the Gerbera daisy onto my card panel, just to allow it to pop off from the background a little bit more. I originally stamped it saying one of my nicest thoughts, but it didn't read right. Friend, one of my nicest thoughts. So in the end I used the sentiment for every little thing and just stamped this in some navy ink, and then I added with a pen just a blue line, so it read friend for every little thing. Then I decided to stamp the word thank you and heat emboss this in the middle, so it read friend for every little thing you do, and then you open the card, thank you. Now I was having problems of getting, for some reason with my stamp platform, the middle part of the word thank you to print, so in the end what I found worked was just to add a little bit of foil behind my card and then stamp it again, and this time it completely stamped the whole sentiment. I didn't want to restart this all over again, so this saved the card by just popping a little bit of foil on there, raising my card up so my platform would actually stamp it properly. And again I used the bright opaque white embossing powder. So let's just go through over the cards again. So I've got this lovely foil, the blue for the hello, and the shadow die. So as I use the shadow dies to cut out an area of the alcohol ink backgrounds, I didn't let that go to waste. As you'll see in the photos, I haven't done this on screen because they were so easy to make. I just added the shadow dies to a background panel where I'd added a bit of speckled embossing just like I did with the Gerbera, and I used the copper and the oceanic embossing powders, and then added a white die cut sentiment just to finish those off, and added some Nouveau drops around. So I got, out of making 3 cards, really I got a total of 5. As I mentioned, Wow Embossing Powders and Ellen Hutson have teamed up today for the blog hop and giveaway. Therefore, one lucky crafter will win 6 Wow Embossing Powders of their choosing, a carry case and a $25 gift card to Ellen Hutson shop. It's a fantastic giveaway. To enter the giveaway, you've got to comment at each stop on the hop, and a winner is going to be randomly drawn on the 25th of February. They'll then be contacted by email by the companies. So make sure you hop over to my website and find the corresponding blog. I will have a link in the description below. You need to comment on my blog posts, but also there'll be links there to then continue the hop. If you want to start from the beginning, I've also got a link to the Wow Embossing Powder blog post where you can start right from the beginning and make sure that you cover the whole hop. There are some great designers on this blog hop, and I hope you enjoy seeing lots of inspiration with all these products. If you enjoyed watching my video today, why not check out this other video where I created some textured stenciling with watercolours and created 2 lovely blue birthday cards. If you're not a subscriber already, I'd love it if you could subscribe to my channel, and why not hit that bell icon so you can be notified when my next video is up. Until next time, happy crafting!